This was the situation we were in only yesterday.
As we surf down one wave, she's surfing down another. We're pulling, tossing, turning. It's quite horrible.
We set off on what we intended would be a 6 hour and 30 nautical mile day, sailing south along the Ningaloo Reef.
We're making a dash for it, just popping our way down the Ningaloo Reef.
But it evolved into a mammoth 36 hours and 80 nautical miles of beating into relentless southerly winds. We should have been in at around midnight. It's almost 7 o'clock this morning and we're still about 10 miles off. With fierce winds directly on our nose, we could only make angles like this. Meaning, although we were still averaging 4 to 5 knots through the water, in reality, we were only making 2 nautical miles of ground per hour towards our destination. We're just struggling to make ground. However, what got us in this situation was making the call to avoid this sketchy reef anchorage, which turns out was the best thing we did, as soon after our engine came to a halt.
Unfortunately, a couple of hours ago now, we lost our engine.
And we could have been in a much worse situation had we attempted the entrance.
I'm so glad we didn't attempt that sus entrance we were sus on and then have this cut out then.
Exhausted after a night of sailing well offshore and enduring brutal conditions with one thing after another failing on us. The engine dies, the autopilot dies, we had the anchor dislodge. Honestly, last night couldn't have gone worse. We finally approached the entrance to our next anchorage. Without an engine, we intended to sail into the bay, but as if to mock us, the wind completely dropped out, leaving us slowly drifting in the huge Indian Ocean swell, and if we didn't act quickly, to our certain demise on the reef. As we're coming through the entrance, the wind has completely died off.
Sorry, Mum.
Thankfully, our mates aboard Hagar came to our rescue to tow us the remaining 3 miles to where we finally dropped anchor. Sailing Western Australia's coastline is the equivalent of sailing from the Gibraltar Strait to 3/4 of the way across the Atlantic Ocean. This is just one stretch of coastline we're taking on to complete a lap of Australia.
This west coast is just...
It's a piece of work, eh?
Ah, it's a piece of work.
Although we're safely anchored, we're now stuck here in this coral reef surrounded bay until we get our engine back up and running. So we've made it into the anchorage, as you would have seen. It was a bit precarious, but we've made it in. With, however, a bigger boat list. Quite of a significant bigger boat list than we set off with. So that's priority. We've got to get our engine running. We've got to get our autopilot working. Let's do that today. We're both still feeling pretty exhausted, but yeah, let's get into the boat. We need to keep moving south, not only to get to some civilization to make repairs, but to try to keep up with the change in seasons as we make our way towards the Southern Ocean. It's priority we get Nakama back up and running.
I could have done half a moustache for the full effect, but no.
You're not going to get rid of that,
I'm not going to do that.
Oh my god! Slim, with a beard. Oh my god, it looks so weird where...
I'm feeling in two minds this morning about where to start.
Clean your face.
Clean my face. Oh, I only half my face because I'm feeling in two minds. That was my pun, that was my joke.
Oh.
I'm going to finish.
Well, some of us had other priorities, but we eventually got back on track.
Big boat list. Lectures got flagged this morning for engine and boat work. Brilliant. I'd actually rather be in a lecture hall right now. Oh, a virtual lecture hall.
No lecture halls out here, Mom.
No lecture halls out here. Look at all this nice diesel here. Pity all the stuff in our tanks. Not nice.
We believe we managed to diagnose the problem with our engine while we hove to off the coast. Gotta say, it's quite pleasant heaving to. We're just chilling.
So, the fuel lines. I just changed the fuel filters and they're instantly dirty again. We've got bad fuel. I don't think we're going to be able to resolve that out here. While we are stopped, we're still floating slowly back towards the reef, so I think that's an anchorage job.
Not only did being calmer at anchor help, but being in a calmer headspace also seemed to work wonders.
Well, that's good. Woohoo! That's a good sound. Wasn't ideal, but I was just tinkering whilst I was cooking breakfast, and I was like, maybe if I lock this end and then pump it the wrong way, and then I heard this dunk. So, not ideal. It went back into the mother tank, but yeah, there's a block in the fuel line. The fuel's dirty. The filter's already clogging back up, so I'm gonna go count how many fuel filters I have left, and we're gonna have to change them every couple of hours, I'd say.
And do a good treatment of the tanks. We're gonna pour a ton of fuel doctor in. When we were heaved to, we sort of quickly discovered that the fuel line was blocked from the fuel tank to the first inline fuel filter. We have 2 fuel filters in place aboard Nakama, a smaller inline filter and a larger filter with a water separator. For us, the inline filters are great as the location of our larger primary filter is difficult to get to and would be near impossible to service underway.
That is gnarly, babe. That's meant to be clear there.
The only downfall is due to their size and the severity of our contamination. They're clogging very quickly, and it won't be long before we run out of spares and have to bypass them and rely on our primary filter, which wouldn't be so convenient to change underway when it inevitably also clogs. So we're happy with the way the engine's running. We ran it for a little bit. It sounds all good. It's so good. We haven't really solved the problem of having a dirty fuel tank. There's nothing really we can do about cleaning out the diesel tank now anyway. We just don't have the facilities to do it. Unfortunately, as we're in the middle of nowhere on the pristine reef, there's nowhere we can discharge or polish what's in our tanks. So we're just gonna have to make do until we can get into some form of civilization. But we do have fuel filters that we're just gonna have to keep on changing and keeping an eye on. And yeah, we did put a dosage of fuel doctor in as well, which should kill off a bit of the bacteria. However, although it kills off the bacteria, the sludge still remains in the tanks. So, autopilot time.
Engine's done. Next thing's the autopilot. I've already tried bleeding the hydraulics. I had no such luck. I've checked all the connections in the back locker, which all seem good. I've taken apart the computer unit, did that on passage. To check the switchboard, that's all good, so see what the wiring looks like behind here.
What we should know by now though is that you should never trust your feline friends.
I think Chili's knocked some wires out. All the wiring's in here. I thought it was all in here when I checked it in the dark, and now Soap's giving me a head torch, and I think I missed them during the night. Quite different conditions to what it is right now when I was trying to check last time though.
This is our quarter berth, otherwise known as the shed. It is what it seems. Most of our tools and various types of equipment live here.
I want to get everything out so I can actually properly fix it.
Well, it was just hanging out, hey?
Yeah. It was down near where Chili hides. She must have been like sitting on the feed wire.
Chili makes home in a little hole at the very back of the quarter berth while we're underway, which is inconveniently right next to the autopilot's computer. This thankfully makes for a simple fix though. Yay! Yes, we have found the problem of the autopilot, which allows us to move on.
We don't have a head sail because the furling line snapped yesterday. Things happen in threes. Just as we were getting the head sail in because we got becalmed, we snapped our furling line too. Furling line snapped, so we're going to try and replace that.
We won't be going far without a furling line, as for the non-sailors, this is how we get our head sail out and back in with ease. It's an easy fix though by just pulling out the old line and replacing it with a spare.
Whoa! We've achieved so much in a day. Other things we did, we've better secured our jerrys so this doesn't happen again.
We got these jerry cans in the cockpit because the jerry cans on the decks were just like literally flying everywhere. At one stage we had a jerry can like in the water and we're like trying to get it out of the water.
And The spinnaker pole was trying to run away on us as well, so we've better secured that. We've set up the stay sail.
There was no denying that we were unprepared for what we caught the other day. Having the stay sails set up is a little trick up our sleeves, but if the wind turns completely disgusting.
Man, this west coast has turned into more of like overcoming it. We're looking for days when it's only like 20 knots on the nose and happy with that. Like it is just full trade wind, headwinds. It's gonna be a slog. It is a slog. It's gonna continue to be a slog.
Having now gotten the boat to a functioning order to make our next jump, I think we're just about ready to brave the elements once again. But before we get into another challenging sail, this is the absolute dream. We just want to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to Naming This Later for being the sponsor of this week's video. Naming This Later has been supporting this channel and making Nakama feel cozy for years now. After putting these blankets to the test, indoors and out, we can't speak highly enough of them. And we're super stoked when we see that you guys are loving them as well. There are not many luxuries living on a 10-meter sailboat, but these blankets are one thing that we've found that give us a sense of home wherever we find ourselves. And as we drop in latitudes, they're getting increasingly used not just to make our interior pretty or our picnics comfy, but to keep us warm in the cooler temperatures. Naming This Later has just dropped a new range of timeless designs, all made from Aussie-grown regenerative cotton. These guys are always striving to do right by the planet, and we totally back that. So you can either follow the link in the description below or use code SLIM and SOF and you'll receive 15% off your order. You're basically also getting 2 for 1 because every blanket is also reversible. So make sure you go check out Naming This Later and don't forget to use our code for a discount. Alrighty guys, let's get back into it. Well, today is finally the day we're leaving Coral Bay. We've been here stuck in a blow for quite some time, sitting it out. Today it's still southerly, but a little bit lighter than what it has been. So it's not going to be a great sail, but it's the best day that we've got. And we're just going to have to take it. So yeah, anchor up. Let's get out there. It's going to be yep, it's gonna be one of those sails. Let's just get through it, eh? Let's just get into it and get through it. Not looking forward to it, but let's see how we go. We have only 2 days of lighter winds, so we've got to make it into Shark Bay, which is no small jump. We're covering about 170 miles. Hopefully we can get in within a night. However, we've been warned and we might be out there for 2 nights, which is not surprising because last time we did 50 miles in 22 hours. 50 miles in 22 hours. So we're expecting for this one to also be a slow one too. But the good thing is we have an engine again, for now. It might cut out at any second, but for now we have an engine. Morning.
Morning. Big sail ahead of us.
It's disappointing missing out on exploring these places I know people are so fond of. That's the thing about being on a boat. Sometimes you get stuck aboard in a blow and then you have to take the good weather to make a dash for it. We're coming to terms with this and noted that the next time we come to Western Australia, it will be by car or van.
Sun's coming up. Nothing left but to get into it. I've been putting this one off for a week. Today looks doable. Not nice, but doable.
So what we learnt last time is that if we're beating into it, because we've never, we've always had the privilege of going downwind. We've never quite beat into it as we did that last trip. And our anchor, as it was ploughing through waves, was just going everywhere, including coming out of the roller and slamming onto the bow. So today, going to try and secure her a little bit better so that doesn't happen. Good thing Rockner has a roll bar, also known as a securing point. I've tied that roll bar off to our pulpit. I've really tucked that spade up onto the roller so she's not going to bounce up, she's not going to bounce down. The only way she can really go is side to side. Hopefully she's alright. we've never felt anticipation like this before.
There's Mum.
No way. The whales are a nice distraction from the knot in our stomachs from knowing full well we're about to have our asses kicked. But after sitting inside studying for a week, it's the best window we've seen. So it's now or never. We wanted to experiment with running both the staysail and the headsail to see how Nakama went. We're finding we're not able to point as high into the wind, and it's not really working too well, especially when the brisk morning breeze begins to ease. So it's settled down a little bit since we've poked our heads out. Yeah, we're just cruising along trying to point as high as we possibly can, and at the moment heading well out to sea. We have a bit of a strategy going. We're going to use the morning southerly to get offshore. This will hopefully give us a better chance of getting around the next bit of coast that protrudes when the wind swings through to the southwest. And when it comes through to the southwest, it comes in with haste. We tack over and Nakama pummels through developing seas. I hand steer to squeeze every little bit out of Nakama, and for a few hours we're actually making ground in the right direction. We're actually managing to make our course for the time being. The wind swung a little bit more southwest. As predicted, we've come out enough that we're now able to make it around this next sort of coast for the moment. I can almost guarantee you that at one point we're going to have to tack back out. What do you think of the day?
Yes. No, it's good. It's nice. This west coast is just...
It's a piece of work, eh?
Ah, it's a piece of work. We were so looking forward to it here. It's just the wind's changed a bit early, and now it's just a nightmare that we have to endure. Anyway, I'm making lunch. I kept getting stuck. Couple not so sausagey sausage rolls.
Last trip that we did, we didn't eat any food because it was too tricky to make anything. So this time I came prepared and I've been meal prepping. So one of the meal preps was sausage rolls. Well, veggie sausage rolls. And we also have soup prepared so. Eating good food on passage and heading in the general direction of your destination is one way to boost crew morale.
Currently drag racing a whale. He's trying to cut in front of us.
Drag racing?
No, it's cold. I'm currently drag racing a whale. They're trying to cut in front of us, but knackers will see about that. We got in front of him. As the afternoon sets in, the wind has developed to a good 20 knots and we've just about concluded our good run. This is the absolute dream. Beating into 20 knots. Yes, we're no longer making our course. That's why it's the dream. We're closing in on this next stretch of coastline, so we have to tack, making a course back out to sea. We were doing really good on that tack for a while there, but we're also getting pretty close to land, so the time has come that we're tacking back out away from land and try again in a couple of hours.
the day has mostly been smooth sailing. But there's something about this time of day and now making a course towards Africa that is making us feel a little unsettled for the night. It might also have something to do with our last night out, which turned into a bit of a nightmare. But being a little more prepared, at least we have some dinner.
Pre-planned passage soup. So good. Cardamom.
I'm glad I did that.
This is one of our new favourite go-tos.
We try our best to sleep between tacking down the coast. We're starting to learn the wind patterns bit by bit each day. The mornings seem to bring some sense of relief from the wind.
Alright, Soph's let me get some sleep, and now it's time to empty out the engine locker.
We had to run the engine during the early hours of the morning to put some juice into the batteries. It lasted about an hour before cutting out.
Nothing like waking up in the morning and getting straight into it, eh?
Oh, I'm frustrated with Western Australia. The fuel filter's completely buggered. Just so much crap getting churned up in our tank while we're out like this.
That is gnarly, babe. That's meant to be clear there. I wonder why it's blocked. That's just like a big dollop of yuck. Far out.
It's amazing to see the bug in action. We sacrifice our last inline filter to the cause, which allows the engine to burst back to life.
Great success!
Much success! It's not just the fuel line, filters that are clogging now though, it's the fuel lines too, so my mouth tastes like diesel. Before I even had a coffee I had to blow out the fuel lines.
Engine's on if you can't hear. I'm going to turn the engine off so we don't have the same thing happen again.
With the last inline filter now in place, we have begun to rethink our plans.
You may be noticing a common theme throughout this part of our journey down the west coast, and that is things are just not going to plan at all. We have just changed course and trimmed the sails, and we're heading for Carnarvon. I don't know what's there, but I know that there's a marina there and I know that there's fuel filters there. So that is exactly what we're heading for because we need fuel filters. So the plan's changed, we're heading for Carnarvon, it's 30 miles away. Hopefully should be there this afternoon.
Time is of the essence at the moment. We want to get south as quickly as we can. We were hoping we could push through this and deal with this bug in Perth. We were a bit ambitious with this idea, I know.
If you're thinking, boy, this is all over the shop, don't worry, we're thinking the same bloody thing.
Setting course for Carnarvon, a small remote coastal town, allows us to bear just a fraction away from the wind so Nakama can pick up a good pace. This decision feels right.
Oh, I miss sailing like this. It's like so nice to be cruising along. It has been really tough work the last couple of sails, but you do have these little nice moments and it's like kind of like, oh, I like sailing.
We're really making the most of this. And it was as if the whales knew our spirits needed lifting too.
So many times this morning I've just seen like a whale with its flipper just sticking up like this, and I've like had to like double take and be like, wait, is that a small sailboat in front of us? But then I realised it's just a whale.
lucky we moved.
I know! We sailed until we were right out the front of the markers, where we furled our head sail away and discovered we'd just gone through another furling line.
That's the second furling line in 2 sails.
Alright.
We ticked off another leg of this mammoth west coast with the dropping of our mainsail. We turned on our trusty engine, weaved our way through the questionable channel markers, and when we hit this landmark, we chucked a left towards the marina.
It's exciting.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We really hope you enjoyed the video.
This is the absolute dream.
Next time we are, you guessed it, dealing with this diesel tank.
Found our first mystery item, like an unidentified sinking object, a USO.
Before heading back out to the islands. As always, a huge thank you to our patrons, and thank you to Naming This Later for supporting this week's video. Thanks guys, we'll see you next time.